This video, we will discuss the different types of cells, prokaryote and eukaryote. We will talk about the cells and the organelles that are within them and their functions. We will also talk about the differences between plant and animal cells. Starting off, we will go through a little bit of history, looking at the history of the cell and where did it come from. Robert Hooke was the person that actually discovered the cell. And he was the one that named the cell. There are two terms that you need to be aware of, unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular refers to anything that is consisting of one cell. Uni means one and multi means many, so that would be the difference of those. The cell theory is a fundamental concept in biology that describes the properties of cells, and there's three main principles. The first one is all cells are composed of one or more cells. The second one is all cells are the basic unit of structure and function of organisms. So if you take any kind of organ and you go to the smallest portion that makes it up, it would be the cell is the basic unit, the smallest part, the building block. The third one is all cells come from pre-existing cells. And the word pre-existing means that one cell is going to produce the next cell. Cells just can't come out of non-living things. They are arriving from the next. There are two types of cells. There is the eukaryotic cell and the prokaryotic cell. The eukaryotic cell is going to be the one at the bottom that is in the image. And what makes that different is the fact that it has a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. The nucleus is the large purple circle in the center. The image to the right is going to be the prokaryote. That is going to be an image example of a bacteria. You can see that it does not have a nucleus. When looking at a eukaryote, these are considered to be true cells because of the nucleus. Please keep in mind that when you're looking at eukaryote is going to start with the letters EU. And make note of that, that is going to also refer to the nucleus, which also has an EU. The nucleus is going to be the purple circle in the middle. All eukaryotic cells contain an organelle, which is a membrane-bound structure, which if you look at the picture, you can see that there is the mitochondria, and there's other different organelles that are resting inside of them, and they are like separate components. Remember that eukaryotic cells have organelles and make that reference into the fact that your body has organs which are all separated. So just like the cell has separated organelles that do their own similar function, for them all to work together for the function of the cell. The other type of cell is a prokaryote. It does not contain a nucleus, as you can see in the image here. If you look closely at the image, you can see that the blue lines is the nucleoid, which is also the DNA. So the genetic material, the DNA in the middle, that is just going to be loose and not contained within a nucleus. Key piece that you need to take away and make the connection is that bacteria are prokaryotes. So please pay attention to that the second bullet. Bacteria are prokaryotes. Starting off with organelles, we're going to start with the nucleus. This is going to contain the DNA and it directs the functions of the cells. Ribosomes are also critically important. This is where proteins are made, and proteins are what is going to cause your body to function, and they all have different jobs. And they are going to be at the top left image where you can see the little dots. Those ribosomes are on the endoplasmic reticulum. If you look at the image at the bottom left, you can see that the purple ball is going to be the nucleus. Coming off of the nucleus, the pink folding matter is the endoplasmic reticulum, and on the endoplasmic reticulum is going to be the ribosomes. They're very connected. The DNA is what's going to direct the ribosome on what type of protein to make. So think of the nucleus as going to be the blueprint for the assembly of the proteins. You can think of the nucleus as like the head blueprint engineers that are going to be assembling the protein at the factory, which would be like the ribosome. These two are going to be working together as well. The mitochondria is what's going to be making the ATP. ATP is the energy that is going to be used in all cells. All cells use the same energy, and the mitochondria is also thought of as like the powerhouse of the cell, or the energy source of the cell. The chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are only going to be found in plants, and what they are going to be doing is taking sunlight and converting that into food, which will be used to feed the mitochondria. So they are connected. When people say, when you hear that photosynthesis means that plants are taking sunlight and converting it into energy, this is how they are doing that. Or you can think of also plants as being autotrophs, that they make their own food. This is the interconnection between it. The chloroplasts take the sunlight, they produce the food that feeds the mitochondria, in which produces the energy. If we look closely at the mitochondria, animal and plant cells both have mitochondria. There's going to be a lot of folding within it. There's also their own DNA. These two I put together because of their similarities. A lysosome is something that is going to consume foreign objects, food, and waste products of the cell. You could think of this as something that is patrolling the cell and cleaning up all of the debris. A vacuole is something that's going to store food or water or products needed for the cell. The picture that is on this slide is a plant cell. Looking closely at the center of it, you can see a large central vacuole that's going to hold water for the plant. The endoplasmic reticulum is going to be this pink portion here. The ribosomes are going to be sitting upon it. It is a pathway for proteins to be transmitted. It's also going to connect that nucleus where the DNA is going to be held to the ribosomes. Ribosomes can also be free floating in the cell as well. Here we can see that it's very connected. It's almost like a pathway, almost like a roadway of making that connection. The Golgi apparatus is going to be on the bottom right of the screen. You can see it at the bottom portion. It looks like almost like folded pancakes standing up. And what it does is it receives vesicles that are going to be holding the proteins, and then it will repackage them to different areas. In this picture, you can see that the vesicle is excreting whatever is needed. The protein is leaving the cell. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's directed to be going to different parts of the cell. So they all have a different job. The outside barriers is going to consist of the plasma membrane and the cell wall. The plasma membrane is going to be the outer layer or boundary of the cell. The cell wall can be found in bacteria and plant cells, and it is a lot thicker structure, and it is more about keeping that shape. The plasma membrane in animal cells is going to be able to be folded and changed. When you have a cell wall, it's more of a rigid structure. If you look closely at this picture, we can see that the plasma membrane is very small. It's the yellow and green at the bottom, and it can fold, it can change shapes. When you have a cell wall, it's very rigid, it has a solid structure, and this is going to be a typical plant cell. Plant cells are eukaryotic cells. They do have a nucleus, and they are different from animal cells. They have a chloroplast, which we've talked about, which uses sunlight to make its own food. They have a cell wall for structure and support, and they have a large central vacuole. For looking at this, we can see the vacuole in the middle with the purple circle. We can see the boxy structure of it as well. And please select this attached video to view additional information on the organelles. If we're comparing the differences between plant and animal cells, both of them are going to have all the organelles listed in the left column. The middle column is going to be the significant differences between plant and animal. And the animal cell is also going to have lysosomes only. There's a lot of different cells that have different structures. Not all of them are going to have the same structures that you see over and over again. In this picture, we see a red blood cell. This red blood cell is very flat. It's not very circular from the prior images. It's something that's going to be carrying oxygen throughout the body. It has to be able to squeeze through different portions of size of larger and smaller veins and arteries and blood vessels, and it's going to carry that oxygen through there. When we're looking at muscle cells, you can see that there are 3 different types of muscle cells, and these are not circular either. When you think about a muscle cell, it has to be able to expand and contract. And so it's very stretchy, and it needs to be in that shape and in that manner for those stretchy and contracting functions and movement. Think of the muscle cell as going to be something that's like a rubber band. If it was circular in a round shape, it would not function very well in that manner. This is a nerve cell. This looks nothing like those prior cells as well. So you can see that there are different shapes with this. There's also different structures. It does have a nucleus. It has other things other than the organelles. It has myelin sheath, and it can be very, very long. It can be a signal that is being sent from the tip of your toe all the way to your spinal cord into your brain. So nerve cells are very, very long, and they are not going to be round and circular like we've seen before. This is an image of a tracheous cell, and it's very boxy, and it also has cilia at the top. It has hair-like movement. This is going to be able to move any kind of debris or mucus or anything that your body is trying to move out of the lungs, and just to kind of create that coughing mechanism to just expel anything that doesn't belong, doesn't need to be there.